Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dumb and Dumbest podcast, where everything is terrible, the house is on fire. I'm here with my wonderful co-host Curtis Dewar. I'm Matt Bacon, and today we'll be talking about.
Bios, apparently.
There we go.
If anybody's curious, no, I'm not dead after yesterday.
Yeah, although some of us were hoping for it.
Yeah, some of you guys were hoping for it, that I'd leave a wife and kids behind with no income.
That reminds me, I need to upload yesterday's episode.
Boom.
I'm gonna make a little note on my phone. But today we were going to talk about
Bios.
Yeah. So Curtis and I, from what I understand, have kind of different opinions on bios, which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
So, Curtis, why don't you share with the group?
Yeah, with the group.
The listeners, the folks at home, how you feel about bios.
Okay. I do think they are important to a degree, but I also think to another degree that they are extremely overrated. Here's the thing. Most of the bios that you get suck. Most bios are absolutely awful because here's a good example. One time, fairly recently, I got a bio from a band, and the entire bio was about the history of their band and their former vocalist, and at the very end, they mentioned that they got a new vocalist and a new album. And it's like, who fucking cares? It's really not important, and also not important is the fact that you guys grew up all in the same small town of 5,000 people, and you guys were the only metalheads in the city, and you all cried, and then one member was in this band no one's heard of, and another member was in another band no one's heard of, and you played a show with a local group that no one's heard of. Like, to me, it's like, who fucking cares? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. To me, if you're going to get a bio done, you should get it done by a professional like Matt or Jesse or Mark or Ivan. Those are the four people off the top of my head right there. 5. How many people I said I can't count today? Because they can actually help you draw out a kind of like a story for your bio. And if you don't really have a story, you don't really need to make much of a bio. Like when I'm doing a press kit, really all I'm looking for is, what does the album sound like? Who are the members? Anything that you guys are connected with to any notable bands, and any past positive press you've had, if any. And something that can tie you to something bigger that you can write off of. Like, for example, you open for Lamb of God, or your cousin is Randy Blythe's cousin or something. You know what I mean?
If your cousin is Randy Blythe's cousin, then you too are Randy Blythe's cousin.
You know what I mean?
Well, maybe not. I guess like if it was
second cousin, whatever. You know what I meant.
Okay. Anyway.
But anyways, in my mind, there's no sense in making a big, long bio if there's really nothing there. And if you want to have a decent bio, go to Matt, go to Mark, go to Jesse, go to Ivan. One of those guys can help you draw out a story because they're professional writers. I personally suck at writing bios, so don't ask me for it. I'm good at pitching people on doing stuff and getting you placed. I'm not like a traditional PR in the fact that I can write fancy stuff and then do nothing afterwards. I do the stuff afterwards, and I get other people to do the fancy stuff. So anyways, that's my opinion and my ramble.
Yeah. I think the value in bios is for a guy like me, just a working class guy trying to make his way. I think that it's important to realize, like, for journalists and stuff, they love having bios because it gives them shit to pluck when they're trying to write a review. Especially some do that, but like I don't copy and paste, but I like to have the bio there because if it's like a band I don't know anything about, it gives me a way to kind of connect with them.
And it gives you an idea on how to do the review too. So that way you're kind of like, okay, well, what am I doing? Like, who is this, right?
Yeah, it gives me an idea where it's coming from, sort of the headspace they're in. And those.
But my point is if you don't have an interesting story, don't fucking put something stupid. Like, I don't care that your cat took a dump in a cat box and you're an animal lover. You know what I mean? Unless it pertains to your music.
Yeah, unless you're a vegan.
Yeah.
Cat metal.
You're death camp with fake political views, and you joined Antifa or whatever.
We are having a separate, for those curious, we are having a separate podcast episode about that.
For allegedly fake neckbeard death camp. I should say allegedly.
Oh my God. Anyway.
I'm going to get a masked person showing up in my house now.
Anyway, before my heart explodes. and stress. Let's continue. So bios are important because they differentiate. Something I filmed a Bacon's bit about today that I think is really valuable is the idea that you use your bio, use 3 different formats of bio. You have one that's like your 3-paragraph full bio, that sort of gets into who you are and what you're into, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Then you have one that's your, that's like a paragraph long, and you can just slap that into Facebook and other sort of relevant platforms. The 3-paragraph one probably goes on your website. And
Well,
then
let me ask you a quick question, Matt.
let me finish.
Okay.
And then you have your, then you have your 1 or 2 sentence kind of slug that you use. And if you sort of like get to know them and memorize them or whatever, you can use them too in like telling people about your band. Depending on the context, you can give them, like a fairly accurate, like point of attack and jumping off point so that they feel like they have an idea of what you're on about.
Which one do you prefer to see in a press kit yourself, out of curiosity, was what I was going to ask you. The long, medium, or short? Obviously not the short, but.
In a press kit, I would put the 3-paragraph one.
So you like the longer one better? Okay.
Yeah. Again, just because also like know your audience, right? And the audience of a press kit is either label people or journalists.
True. No, that's funny because it's funny because I've done polls on this in the past, and it seems to be pretty divided whether people like long or short press kits. It's kind of fun. I tend to go on the short side, but I do know there are people that like the long side. I know it's kind of like a different topic than what we're talking about, but I'm just
but it's tied in, and that's definitely a good question to bring up. Like personally, I want to be able to like see the information, and like I also think that the more material, the easier you make journalists' lives easier, in my opinion, by giving them a lot of information. Not in a rambling way, but like 3 paragraphs isn't that much information.
Okay, so you're saying be concise, but you like to have like a 3 to 5 paragraph type thing if you can.
Yeah.
Relevant.
Ideally 3, so like they're definitely lengthy, like definitely like chock full of content, but not like obnoxiously so.
In other words, Matt doesn't like my press kits.
I don't like anything, Curtis.
He's hating on me. In my opinion, a good press kit / bio would basically tell you where the band's from, how long they've been around, any previous albums they've done, any past press they've received, who the members are, maybe lyrics and song credits. I don't usually put lyrics in my kits, but just saying. Discography, if I didn't say that already, social media links, and maybe a brief album description and who the band sounds like. That would be my mind a good press kit.
Yeah.
Which is what I basically do in a shorter form.
And I think it's good to like be very straightforward with like the 4 fans of and stuff.
Yeah.
Because like I just want to know. I'm not trying to get granular about a band no one's heard of that I don't, that I'm probably not going to listen to after that particular day.
And how do you feel about having the genre in the reline? Because Kim actually mentioned to me that she prefers it in the reline, and I've started doing it as a test since she mentioned that to me a few weeks ago. And I seem to be getting more opens, but I'm curious as to your thoughts on that.
I feel that way too. I also feel like a good for fans of can help.
In the reline?
Yeah.
Like in the subject line.
The subject line, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when you get the email, you see that's the actual subject line you see.
Yeah, well, because again, it just gives me a better idea as a journalist, like what I'm opening, and especially like with people like you, where it's like you do a broad variety of shit.
Yeah.
And while I think, you don't represent bad things, some days I don't want to listen to stoner rock or whatever. I want to listen to black metal.
See, people, I'm learning stuff every day just by doing this podcast.
Yeah, see, Curtis is suckling at the teat.
I'm suckling at the teat. Well, I'm just trying to pick your brain to find out how other people might be thinking as well. So
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Suckling at the teat.
Suckling at the teat, yeah. But
anyway.
So what would be an example of what not to put in a bio from Matt, the Metal Injection / Two Guys Metal Reviews / Toilet of Hell writer
/ Vandala Magazine /
Never heard that one. So
I don't know. So many.
Okay.
Point being.
Well, so what Would it be?
Well,
What would
like
be
you
an
said,
example?
extraneous detail. Like I don't really care about the band members.
Okay.
Like
What if they were in Lamb of God?
unless they were in a notable band, like in most cases, the band member situation doesn't really matter.
No.
You know, I
They have
also don't really care about how your band, like I don't care about like the granular details of like band members switching. You know, like literally, if like a band I work with, I'm doing the bio and they've had like a lot of member changes, I'll just be like, having weathered various member changes, like. You know
So
what I mean? Like I'm not trying to.
so let's say that you got a brand new band comes up to you and says, Matt, we need a bio. This is our first album. We've had no previous press. We're fresh off the out of school, and this is our first album. No one's been in any notable bands. We've never played a big show. We've toured. We've played some shows, but never on a notable bill. How would you draw out something from them to get a good bio? May I ask? Like, what would you ask them to give you?
That's a tricky thing. I would ask for all their influences.
Good. Okay.
I would ask for what their long-term goals are, what their
Cool.
new record sounds like, you
Cool.
know, um, and where who they're trying to emulate, not just as musicians, but as a band, like a band in the branding sense and stuff, and also sort of look at what their iconography essentially is, like what they're about,
Okay.
right?
I think
You
people
know,
just get like a couple $100 worth of information just from that statement right there. You just found out how Matt writes a bio.
we probably should have filmed that for Instagram stories, huh?
You probably should have, but that was actually valuable information because like that's one key thing that I've always had a problem with is when a new band comes up, how do you draw something interesting? But that's what you just said right there. Brilliant.
I'm
Just about the iconography and what the band's goals are, right?
exactly, and if you don't have iconography, you need to like go figure that out too.
Now,
You
should
know,
bands be putting political stuff in their bios? How do you feel about that? Because
if
like,
you are a political band, yes. However, I don't think most bands should be political bands because most bands are not as smart as they think. Most people are not as smart as they think they are.
yeah,
Like I don't really share my political opinions because my political opinions were shaped by someone who was a punk forever and, you know, is
Matt
really
is
like,
a Canadian. He loves Justin Trudeau.
I don't love Justin Trudeau.
He's just saying that he does.
Like I appreciate that my political views are going to alienate some people, and I don't really think that's a way to lead to more productive conversations.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to be like a militant punk band or whatever, then by all means, I love militant punk bands. I think they have an important societal function.
Yeah.
But like don't go mouthing off when you're not you know, don't go
Municipal
mouthing
Waste
off.
is a great example of who shouldn't be. Like, why are they being political? They're a party band.
Exactly. And it's
That's just
like,
stupid.
yeah, well it's also like, it's like people who like talk a big game being anti-Trump, and it's like, well, that's cool and I appreciate that intellectually, but also like, he has a 70% like disapproval rating. You're not
You're not being edgy by doing that.
yeah, like no one is like, oh wow, these guys are anti, like that's and also like, to kind of beat on a cliche, like nobody really wants to hear about straight white dudes' political opinions. Like I don't.
Or anybody's political opinions, to be honest.
Yeah,
At least
but
that
especially not straight white dudes. Like let's
no
be
one wants to listen to Matt, apparently.
what?
Nothing. Well, you just said straight white dude, so there you
Oh
go.
no, but I'm not sharing my political opinions is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought you
What I'm
just meant
saying what I'm saying is like you can probably guess my political opinions by looking at what my life is like. And that's fine.
and he likes strippers. That's his political opinion.
I like what in strippers?
Strippers and Antifa. So you're Stormy Daniels. You want Stormy Daniels for president, in other words.
Okay. Regardless, I think you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, don't share political opinions unless that's going to be a shtick and you have a very clear idea of who you are, what you're doing, what your plan of attack is.
And don't ask the Canadian for their opinion on Donald Trump or the Democrat Party because I really don't fucking care because I get asked that a lot, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah,
Like I don't get into it.
exactly.
Especially strong opinions. I don't.
Exactly.
The Canadian would be me. So what else
Anyway,
do you want to go over bond bios? Is there anything else specifically you want to say? Because I got one last thing I want to say, unless you got something else.
no, do your last thing. I think we're ready to wrap up here.
I think we are too. So basically, with a bio, try unless you got like someone who is a really good writer, you should invest the 75, I think it is, that Matt charges to do a
Yes,
bio.
but if you order and mention this podcast, I'll give you $25 off.
Boom. So invest the 50 or 75 bucks of whatever he charges, or Mark charges, or Ivan charges, or Jesse charges. Since we're doing this podcast, I should probably mainly just push Matt. But it's well worth it, because the other thing too is that Matt at least will give you 3 versions of your bio. Like he said, he gives a long form, he gives a medium form, and he gives a short form, and you can use that bio for press kits. You can use it for getting onto festivals. You can use it for your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. It's covered right there, and you don't have to do much work at all. And I've never heard anybody complain about anything that Matt has written bio-wise. So
Bio-wise.
bio-wise, I'm sure he's got
Bio-wise.
complaints on other things, but I've never heard a complaint on a bio. And usually he'll send a draft over to the client. The client is peeing their pants saying how happy they are, and he doesn't even need to do anything else.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
There's my plug. That's what I got to say. Invest the 50 to 75 bucks on a bio. Just do it. Don't cheap out, because you know what's probably going to end up happening is if you're working with me, is I'll probably suggest that you go to Matt or Jesse or Mark or Ivan or whatever. So there you go.
So yeah, anyway, thank you guys for listening. And then I'm sure we'll be at you tomorrow, coming hard with hard talk, divisive opinions, black metal.
Death metal.
You know,
I'm going to say, are we done today?
White noise, black metal. What was that, Curtis?
Yeah, I'm not going to say, well, are we done that yet? Are we done yet today? I'm stopping the trend today.
You just said, "Are we done yet?"
I know, but I'm officially going to stop that as of today. It's my new trend is not to say that.
That's very disappointing.
I'm going to end off with one of my kids yelling into the microphone.